I always talk about that, when you shift yourself, you raise the energy grid to everybody else. So I realized, my suffering pattern had always been, I just disrupt people's patterns. And when I started to then just love the fact that I'm a disruptor, I'm met at work, everybody loves the fact that I disrupt their stuff and they get to a happier and healthier place. But in my family, my immediate family, when I would walk into family parties throughout the years, it's like, oh, here's Julie. And I started to learn going, oh, okay, only give advice when asked, and just love the fact that I'm a disruptor. When the shit's really hitting the fan, people call me because they know I can get them through it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Awaken Your Relationships. I am Julie Murphy, and Rita Hickman is our relationship expert. We either work things out or we act it out, and we do it through our money, through our health, or our relationships. So we're here to help you get to a life that you love. And don't forget to hit that subscribe, like, and notification bell, not only on my channel, but please go over to Rita's channel as well and like that so that we can help our world at large get to a happier and healthier place. So Rita, we were sitting here chatting going, everybody really appreciated our other video of relationships in our communities because right now the world is really struggling at large. And we're finding that that's also the case in the relationships within our workplace, which is why today we want to chat about that because we show up who we are no matter what aspect of life that we're talking about. And I have noticed that's the same true in 2008 and 2009. I noticed a huge pattern that those companies that were going bankrupt, guess what? The referrals, the people who are my client base that came from these companies that are big companies that are out in the marketplace, like General Motors was one of them. They declared bankruptcy. And guess what? The employees that worked at that firm that had sought out my services through the years were also personally, fiscally challenged. So we are the company we keep. So if you're dealing with narcissism or whatever, like I had this one client, she completely did all this work throughout the years with her dad, who was a narcissist. And she turned around and what did she do? And she healed all of her stuff with her dad. Grown in her career, MBA, super smart. Guess who's the CEO? Major narcissist, right? So if we're not learning how to apply this in the different areas of our lives, you're just going to attract it somewhere else. So we have to shift this stuff in our workplace because who wants to repeat the patterns that they already healed in their families or in their marriages or somewhere else? Like it's like the second test, right?
Right. Well, I mean, people get stuck thinking that healing is the end game, and healing is really just the adolescent wall you need to get past so that you can start investing in yourself and turning yourself into the version that you have the potential to become.
Right.
So at your workplace, like you said, if you've got good relationships, if they make you happy, then you are going to have a very successful life. But if you keep choosing over and over to keep pushing that wound and poking that button instead of making better choices instead, so that you can have a brighter future, then you're going to keep feeling like you're stuck and dragged down. I was just watching Heart Math, which is one of my favorite science-based emotion, mental health sort of.
Yeah, they get it. They've done all the research for sure.
Exactly. And then also listening to them talk on their podcast with Dr. Amen. He's done like 12 PBS specials on the brain. And I mean, he's brilliant. And he just wrote a book on how to be happy. And at the beginning, he says, it is our moral obligation to be happy and to seek happiness because of how it affects everyone else around us.
Right.
And so our moral obligation. And so he makes choices based on what makes him happy and what doesn't make him happy.
And who was this again?
Oh, Dr. Amen. Amen. He's got like 10 clinics around the US.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a valid point because I always talk about that, when you shift yourself, you raise the energy grid to everybody else. So I realized, my suffering pattern had always been, I just disrupt people's patterns. And when I started to then just love the fact that I'm a disruptor, I'm met at work, everybody loves the fact that I disrupt their stuff and they get to a happier and healthier place. But in my family, my immediate family, when I would walk into family parties throughout the years, it's like, oh, here's Julie. And I started to learn going, oh, okay, only give advice when asked, and just love the fact that I'm a disruptor. When the shit's really hitting the fan, people call me because they know I can get them through it. And, but you have to love those aspects of yourself that you've probably thought that you were suffering for. I have a lot of people tell me about their work life. Like, I work really hard and I take care of everything. And I'm like going, and some of the stuff, Rita, that you've taught me going, oh, they're in one of their 5 stress responses. They're trying to control and train everybody who works for them. And that's why they keep hiring people who are dysfunctional underneath them, because they like to come in and save the day,
Well,
and
this is what I wanted to say about, areas of your life. People think that they did all this healing work with their family, but they stopped. They didn't then learn how to set boundaries. And because if you don't set boundaries in one area of your life, you're not going to set boundaries in other areas of your life, because it's a scary, unknown, uncertain. What do boundaries look like? How do you set them? Do I have the right to protect myself? Do I have the right to be happy? I thought I'm supposed to suffer. There's all these unspoken things that keep us making choices that aren't in our best interests. And so we continue the pattern because we haven't learned the lesson. And the lesson isn't you're a piece of shit. The lesson is you need to explore and learn about boundaries and get good at them, because otherwise people will take advantage of you.
Right. And boundary holding, it's really interesting. Something that came up recently that maybe from your expertise, Rita, you can chime in on here. How do you know the difference between holding a boundary and are you still responding from your fear-based patterns?
Oh, yeah. 2 very simple ways to do it. One is how you feel. People who are kinesthetic, like me, more kinesthetic, they tend to be good spellers.
Right.
Because when they're spelling something, it feels right to them. So a boundary is something that feels strong and feels right to you. You feel good about the choice that you're making. A fear response feels different, like your skin's tingling, your heart's racing. The second way to tell is to do something that brings you back grounded again. So it only takes 10 seconds to, stroke your arms 20 times. It only takes a few seconds to breathe in some jasmine oil.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take long to pause for 15, 20 seconds or go to the bathroom or do something and get that emotion, whatever emotion might be there, off your system so that you can see things clearly. It doesn't hurt anybody for you to take a few seconds or a few minutes or go for a walk when you're not comfortable. And then when you're done, see if you still want to make the same decision. You still want to set that boundary, or you still want to say that thing, that you wanted to say in the moment, because that opportunity is going to come up again. If you didn't set boundaries, and that person's going to come back and they're going to slap you upside the head, because that's just how, they don't know any better. That's just what they're doing. And so
true.
You're going to have opportunity after opportunity to learn how to stand up for yourself and to set boundaries and protect yourself in your workplace, in your community, at home, with your boss, with your coworker, in the cafeteria, teaching your kids in high school.
Well, and one of the things we've also talked about is that one of the ways that you can really truly love somebody is by holding really strong boundaries.
Yes.
Because you're really standing in your authenticity then. And then that allows the other person to actually step into their power. As much as it feels awful on the inside, especially when it comes to your job, right? Like let's turn this onto your job, right? So why do people not set boundaries? So let's say you've got the boss who's the narcissist and they're doing things. And you don't want to lose your job because you need your paycheck.
Totally
Right?
legit. You know, I mean, if you're at a job where you have a narcissistic boss, don't put little rose-colored glasses over your eyes that they're not going to come after you. If you're their target.
Can we talk about that? Because
Yeah.
this is a real deal. When you hold boundaries with other people, particularly narcissists,
You are learning this lately.
holy shitballs, do they come after you?
Yes.
Because they want to force you into submission, into the way you've always been. And you're like, nope, not going there. Nope, not going there. Like, thank you for the opportunity to yet again go, your shit, not my shit.
My business was vandalized. My reputation was attacked. My home, my home was called. My friends were threatened. My family.
I even had, let's call family members and try to manipulate them to my side.
Yes.
Because you won't give me what I want because I tried everything else. Like, it's really fascinating to me. And then here's what I want to really stress to people in your work life is that when you hold these in other places, I always tell people it's like building a muscle. Okay.
Yeah. So I like to practice with easy people.
But when you hold, you know, in a business, particularly when you're a smaller company, like you don't want to lose clients, right? And when someone else is newer in my company, it's always like, they're always so afraid to lose clients. And I'm always like, oh no, they're falling away for a reason. Just like bosses fall away, coworkers fall away. If you keep rising your light and you keep following your heart, and you keep following your authenticity, why is it that we always think that it's a bad thing, even when you get fired? It is not. You need to celebrate whatever is moving away because it's recognition for you actually raising the bar for yourself, and you're choosing more self-love and more self-care. And you just have to now allow it to support you and allow it to show up. I had someone the other day I do group coaching programs, which, by the way, if anyone wants to go to juliemurphy.com, and I'm starting one this summer again. I'm going to do one every quarter with a private group. And the one woman, she's like, she totally manifested exactly the job she wanted. And then she was like talking herself out of it. I was like, no. You are a master manifester. You've listened to everything that I've said. Now I need you to breathe into that it actually showed up, because she was not used to things showing up so easy for her. But when you really hold those boundaries of what you know is sucking the life out of you, then it opens you up for it all to show up. And that is like building a muscle, because you almost don't even know what that's like. And it's okay. Like, I had a multi-million-dollar client who is a major narcissist to his wife leave after I held these really strong boundaries in this other part of my life. And it was really fascinating to me. And my staff was like panicking, like, did we not do something right? Did we not service them? Then I go, no, they're leaving because I went and just did all this work with, you know, the shamans and everything. And then all of a sudden I come back into this world and I can't even plug in the same way. So I'm not tolerating what I used to tolerate. So everything's kind of blowing up. And even though it seems like it's falling apart, it's actually really falling together. And it's okay, because I used to say this mantra that was, please release everything that no longer serves my highest and best interest. And then all of a sudden everything started falling away. And I was like, whoa, wait. And then I was like, oh, I only got half the intention down there. I'm like going, oh, please release everything that no longer serves my highest and best interest. And can you please attract everything that does support my highest and best interest? And so then all of a sudden, because I got 50% of the equation of letting it go, well, then I had to open up to allow that stuff. Because really, when you're a giver and a people pleaser and a doer, you're not used to receiving and being supported. So you really have to open that side up of yourself.
Well,
even
and
at the
you're
workplace.
responsible for it, because the
Correct.
universe has, I mean, there's so many streams of nourishment, and so many, just think of all the rivers and the lifeblood of the planet, all of the water. Nourishment is right there, just like a quarter to your left.
Right.
And so you have to pay attention to where abundance is going, and then align yourself with abundance.
Right.
Not sit next to abundance, watching it go by and wondering why you're not abundant.
Right.
No, just nudge over a little bit. Be in the stream of abundance. Let go of the things that keep you from being happy, that tell you that you don't deserve to have a job that you enjoy, that you deserve to be picked on or manipulated by your bosses or coworkers, that you deserve it. No. Just because 80% of the jobs out there are crap does not mean that 20% don't exist. And be worthy, be wanting, look for it. Look for those 20% of jobs that light you up. And if you do, your whole life will change. But as long as you stay in places where you're surrounded by people who are not looking out for your best interest, you are going to suffer, you're going to struggle, you're going to get cancer, you're going to die early, your family's going to leave you, no one will like you, you won't have many friends, and you'll feel sick all the time. And you'll wonder why, and why it's your fault. And it is your fault, but it's not your fault.
Well, we don't have to be negative about it, right? Because a big step in what I tell people is you just have to accept it. Like, just go, oh yeah, I did that. Because if you put like fault to it, you trigger all the blame, shame, guilt, and judgment you have about it. And then that contracts you, and then that doesn't help you manifest, because you got to keep your nervous system not hijacked.
Although here's from the healer point of view. The healer point of view is, let's trigger as much as you can stand so you can get it off of your system as fast as possible. You've heard about those gurus who would be in the mountains and they'd send people on these horrible things, and they'd come back broken and bleeding and say, I did what you said. You're like, why did you do that? Because the most spiritually enlightened people are strong and compassionate. They understand that you're suffering needlessly, but you have to allow these things to come up so you can get them off your system, so you can grow, and you can grow up. And the faster you do it, the better. One of my favorite lines in 12-step programs are, every drink is one drink closer to your last. So for me, I think, do what you think you need to do, follow this path until you hit a point where you can't stand it anymore, and then you will do something different. And the faster you hit that, the faster you'll start walking your way out of your suffering. I had a goat milk soap making class with my mom and my sister this weekend. It was awesome. It was in Wisconsin. We stayed in a shipping container B&B and watched movies, and we had fun. So we did this class, and the woman who ran it is an herbalist, and she's been an herbalist for 30 years, and she's just consulting and has a little farmette in Stoughton. And we were talking to each other because we're of equal status, and we're both like, yes, we're the meanest healers we know. We are some of the meanest people we know, because
kind of like the most inflexible yogi.
Right. And we absolutely are, because we know that if you can challenge yourself to do things which are hard, and let go of the fears and let go of the guilt that comes up, we're there to push the buttons, just like a narcissist is. Just like people don't like our button pushers, in order to bring your fears up so that you can release them, because it's in the releasing that you become the version of you you're meant to become.
I would really love for everybody, when it comes to your work life, to look at, who are the people that piss you off the most at work? The ones that really, really, really just get under your skin. Now, I want people to visualize, like, who are those people, right? Now I want you to visualize their face and ask, why did I call this person into my life to trigger me this way? What needs to heal in me? Because if you start to ask that question as opposed to that motherfucker,
Yeah. And if you ask that question, then go do something that makes you feel good. It's a 2-step process. Ask the question, but don't get in the obsession, the guilt, the fear, the anxiety.
No,
Ask
just observe it.
And then release it to the universe. Let it go. Forget about it. Eat the piece of paper you wrote the question on. Let it go, because then the answer will appear to you.
Yep. Yeah. And you know what? I've also learned, like, when I was first doing this work and trying to figure out, like, because I was angry, because anger is deep sadness. So if you're angry at this person, just know you're sad about something. So I literally would walk around going, why am I sad? Why am I sad? It literally took 3 months because I had trained myself so well to chalk it up, survive, get to the next step, that I didn't even know how to feel my feelings. It was like, oh, and I'm going into it. I'm actually in the midst of a deeper layer of this right now in terms of, oh, so so what's happening in this process to everyone around the globe is that we are really being triggered in terms of unpacking our heart, right? So we're increasing our vulnerability and we're learning how to breathe through that, to like make decisions through our heart and then add our smarts. But physiologically, what I'm witnessing, like, I get all this tingling in my hands. I just went to acupuncture the other day and I was like, okay, it started with this middle finger, like literally at this moment, this middle finger is completely like tingly and numb.
And I just sit there thinking that you want to flip people off, but you haven't been. It's suppressed flipping people off. You know what?
Wow, that says a lot, right? Well, because here's what the acupuncture says. She says that is that meridian is the heart protection meridian. And so it's saying your heart doesn't feel protected. And then she put the needle in my wrist. It is the worst pain I've ever felt in my entire life. And she goes, oh, you have a lot of buried emotions in your heart. She goes, oh, we're going to unpack those today. And all of a sudden she put like 10 needles all around my heart. And she also, at the same time, to your point, put the needles in the spots where it's like to experience the joy of the heart, not just all these other things. And so it's been really interesting since she opened up those energy channels, still getting numb fingers, at the same intensity. But I go back in another 2 weeks and we'll see. But I'll tell you, I had a really good cry when she had that needle in there. It like provoked buried emotions in my body that came up and out. And it was interesting. I had just done Cambo last July, where the Cambo practitioner said, I'm getting the sense that I need to put these 2 spots on your heart, on the backside. And she said it was literally the spots to unleash emotions. It was literally the same spots of doing the same exact work. And so there's a lot of tools, like even if you can't do it yourself, like whether it's acupuncture, energy work, plant medicines, Cambo, and certainly Rita, that's your world of a lot of those things.
Yeah. And it's so much fun because anybody who can make it to my office as part of my coaching programs, we do hands-on work. And I've got a whole studio. It's like Shangri-La here. It really is cool.
Talk to us about some of the Shangri-La.
What?
Like, what are those things that you have there?
Okay. Well, one of the things I have is I have a concert sound system and the speakers sit on the floor and the bodywork mat is on the floor. So when we do brainwave entrainment music, when we do meditations over the sound system, you are in the middle of a sound healing chamber. And you not only hear the sound waves, but you feel them through the floor and from the speakers. So your whole body, just by being here with the music on, gets a tune up. And then it's set up so as soon as you walk in the door, I've got all these colored lights. So purples and greens, and I change them with a little remote. And so, you walk in and it's a whole nother world. It's Midsummer Night's Dream. It's Brigadoon. Everything has these beautiful glows to it. And then we add in the metaphors, things that remind you of what's important about the process, about who you are. So butterflies are everywhere, cherry blossoms, my mom's quilts, trees of life.
Things
it just
that make you
feels
feel
nourishing.
safe. So that's what I hear. It's like, oh, you're creating safety.
Yes, emotional safety, and it regulates people as soon as they walk in the door. Actually, it regulates people as soon as they think about walking in the door. Because once you have a peak experience where someone's working with you and touching the parts of you that hurt and helping release them and opening up your ribs and poking in places where nobody ever pokes,
right?
Your belly and your and
yeah,
your
like that's where breath work is really good.
Right, exactly. And so we take all sound and colors and hands-on and coaching and vibration and we all bring it together in this really feminine, nourishing, fairy type of experience, where you can just be you for a few minutes and breathe and let your body heal itself, because that's what it's designed to do. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is help people calm down, and their body does all the work.
Well, it's so funny that you say that, because even, I know we're talking about our work life today, but if you're a boss, actually, I'm going to parlay this. I was going to give an example of my daughter, but let's use this in a workspace. So if you are a boss, you can bring these tools into your workplace because you have no idea what people need to unpack. I brought a breathwork instructor into my office, and we're all laying on yoga mats in my office doing this breath work. And, the ones that need it the most, the ones you think don't. And it was really fascinating to watch my one of my employees unpack some stuff and didn't expect it, right? And he didn't expect it, but it untangled on something that he didn't even know needed to be untangled. But he's a whole new person today. And so if you're the boss at work, or even if you're not, make suggestions. If you're trying to do like group teamwork stuff, suggest to like, how do you create happiness? Because, we're all energetically connected. And if we're not doing these things, like I'm going to go to Costa Rica to do some of this work with some of the women who work with me, because they hear me talking about it all the time. Well, let's get them there. Let's get them there.
And people have to make the choice for themselves that they want a job that supports that kind of thing. If you're in a business that has a lot of problems and issues surrounded by a toxic culture, you're not going to change the culture, unless you've decided you want to spend the next 50 years there and devote your life to changing the culture. Right. It's much better to find other people who have healthier businesses, healthier environments, and join them and get stronger and better, because otherwise it's like an uphill battle. It's the same reason why you have to think carefully whether you want to stay with someone who has a lot of mental health issues or toxic issues or dysfunction or suppressed emotion, because there's a lot of help out there for people if they want it. But if they don't want it, if they're not ready to do it yet because there's no good reason for them, then you sticking with them and being dragged down by them is not in your best interest. So you have to decide, is this person valuable enough to me in my life? Is it enough of a gamble? What's the percentage? What's the over under on this person? And then decide from that place if you want to stick. And if you don't want to stick, pull the chute and find somebody that you can be in alignment with in the direction you do want to go, instead of making choices you're making to keep you stuck in places that if you don't belong in the swamp, don't live in the swamp.
Yeah, that's true, because you create your reality.
Yep.
And you have to decide if that's the reality you want to continue to keep creating.
Yep.
And,
Because
and I can tell you that, and people run into this with employers and personally all the time. Like if you take it from a work standpoint, like how long have people put up with stuff from their bosses? And they just keep taking it and taking it and taking it. I have coached people over and over and over again that, you know what, you are worth more. Go in there. And if they don't give you the financial number that you want, because of what you hold, they're showing you how much they value you. And money is the sure tell sign, but you have to have the courage to ask for the number. And if you think it's just going to go away, it's definitely not. Like, but if you hold the line and the boundary, that's holding the space for potential. And if they rise to the occasion, great, we got to the next place. If they don't rise to the occasion, that is your sign, time to look otherwise. I've even told people, like, it's similar to dating. Like, if you really want something to shift at your current job, write down the attributes of the things that you would absolutely love to do in a new job and be agnostic whether or not you stay at your current company or go somewhere else. But you want to make sure that you're making that list and then start putting it out there to interview. I have seen through the years, it's amazing to me that if you stay neutral as to how that shows up for you, how all of a sudden, maybe in some other direction of the company, you get a phone call and then somebody says, we're wanting to pull you on this project. What do you think? And for that, we're going to change your comp a little bit for you, blah, blah, blah. I have watched that happen. I've also watched the opposite happen, where they tell them to go screw themselves and no way in hell. And you're going, but I really thought that they'd step up. Well, no, they're telling you that they're never going to step up for you. So you then make the choice to create your life in a different way. And don't be afraid. Have the courage to actually step into that next place, because it's super important, because you have to love yourself enough to do it. But I've seen it happen both ways. As long as you stay neutral, whether it's you're staying with that employer or you're not. It's the same thing with relationships, either staying in that relationship or not. Like, just stay neutral as to how it shows up. Like,
but
God,
that's
I'd really
the
love for it
hardest
to
part,
be,
isn't it? It's
oh,
the
that's
hardest
the
part,
hardest part.
Neutral, when your body is telling you that you need to start punching somebody in the face, or you're going down.
Yeah.
And our bodies are doing that subconsciously. We may consciously know in our frontal lobe of, oh yeah, this is just my fear coming up again. But that doesn't stop your heart from beating a million miles an hour, your body from pushing adrenaline through you. And what if you're wrong?
So true.
Because you have had bad experiences in the past where people have taken
advantage. And you're like, are you repeating patterns? Are you not repeating patterns? Like, and then you play the head game. That's why, Rita, you've really taught me, like, you have to drop into your body. If you're doing this contemplation thing up in your head, you're not following your body. You're in your mind and your ego, and that's your past. You got to get in the present moment, into your heart and into your body, because that's going to give you the right answer for you today.
Right. And that's why my answer seems so trite sometimes to people. I'm like, eat a piece of chocolate. Mm-hmm. Go, find a blueberry, smell a flower, because your senses will get you back into your rational self, where you can see that there's a million options, not just two, not just, I'm live or die, right. But there's savvy, there's relationships, there's new relationships you could make, there's skills you could learn and develop. If you want to leave your job or you want to raise, it's not so much of, well, that means I have to go to my boss and I have to stand up for myself. No, you have to stand up for yourself to you. You have to say, right. I deserve nothing something to do with better.
We so often think it's other people, and it's not. It's actually us. If we understood that we were that powerful, the whole world would be different. The whole world would be different.
Yes.
Because we are that powerful.
For yourself.
Yep. So
and
true.
As soon as we do that, as soon as we choose, when we've got that path in front of us, are we going to go in reaction, or are we going to do something different? If you pause for just a second and pray, breathe, get that stress off of your physical system, remind yourself why you matter, why it's important, right. You will always make the right decision. Right. If you don't know what decision to make, pause, regulate, and then you will know. Always.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because you're not making a decision from a place of reactivity, but from your power. Because reactivity just creates more scarcity, more victim, more of what you don't want, more of bringing your past into the present moment.
Right.
And
even if everybody comes after you.
Right.
Even if people are threatening you.
Right.
Even if they're going to take your kids away.
But touche. But and that's when I really want people to recognize the fact that you just need to look at them and go, oh, you're triggered. This isn't mine. I'm not gonna like. So when I would trigger somebody in the past, and then and they would try to emotionally project, which was their emotional reaction. That would then trigger my not enough button, because I was always trying to prove that I was enough to my dad, right? Like that was my subconscious pattern. Well, as soon as I could see like, oh, they're triggered. This isn't mine. I don't need to take on the energy that they're trying to push onto me. And it's interesting, like you start to practice it at work, and then work seems to be the safest place for people to practice, because a lot of times you're like, well, I don't really care if the coworker comes or goes, because I don't have to go home with them. I don't have to live with them. Right. So it seems to be an easier place for people to do some of this testing ground stuff.
Well, and also easier for bullies too, because they might not want to bring their garbage home to their family because it's a scary place, because their spouse is
more vulnerable,
a narcissist right. So it's easier for people to be bullies at work if they're in a relationship with someone who's toxic or dysfunctional. And so the people that you think are the biggest bullies many times are the ones who are struggling the most. And if you can have a little compassion for the fact that they're being triggered without putting yourself in harm's way, just recognize it. When someone, as you said, anger is sadness. And when someone's angry and being a toxic person, it is because they're sad, but you don't know why or what to do about it. All you can do is recognize it, maybe do something that might lighten their spirits, bring them a cup of tea, and recognize that they're in a bad place.
Well, and even when you're in a business meeting, it's so important. Like if somebody's like pouncing on something in a business meeting, oftentimes we go into our defensive mode and try to defend our position. And it's really, really important to just like have them state their thing. And just, I've gotten really good at like 2 phrases that I'll say, like, oh, that's interesting. Or I'll be like, I understand. Like, and just witness. Now, I may not agree with them, but if I say I understand, it's just witnessing their crazy of whatever's going on, because that unrest and that projection and push has nothing to do with you. It's only when we choose to engage it, does it become about you.
And
I always wondered that.
Many times that's their coping mechanism.
Right. Yeah. And I always want to, Miguel Ruiz wrote the 4 Agreements, and he talks about in there, don't personalize. That's one of the 4 agreements. And I remember sitting here going, how do you do that? Like, but they're attacking me. Like, how do I not like take offense to somebody like literally attacking me? And when you can start to see that it's their stuff, and it all has to do with you having enough space in your own nervous system, well, then you hold the space for that.
Yeah.
Right?
If you're stressed out because you don't have enough time, because you don't take time to self-reflect, because you let everybody take little bites out of your life, you're going to be reactionary and you're going to be defensive.
Right.
But if you make sure that you go to the spa regularly, and you go for drives and eat the ice cream you like, don't compromise, and go for little walks and talk to the flowers. If you do that, then when someone else is reacting, it won't necessarily trigger you, and you'll be able to, because if somebody yells, typically they end up feeling better. and they level out a little bit more because that's how they're coping. And if you react to it, they don't even realize they yelled.
Well, then it becomes yours.
Yes, exactly. So don't take it on. Just watch it like you would watch the tide coming in.
Right. And you can watch it wave, and then you sit there, and it's funny because they want relief from the discontent going on inside of themselves. And when you don't give them that relief, that's why it increases. And if you can really get to a place where you're like, oh, that's theirs, not mine. Okay. And just see it for what it is. Like,
right. And you're giving them the gift of unpacking, because if you're strong enough, and you don't have to be, I don't put up with a lot of people's stuff, but when I'm coming from a good place, I don't put up with anything. When I'm coming from a good place, I will allow people to unfold themselves. And by not giving in, it gives them a chance to go deeper into their emotion. It gives them the opportunity to finally feel heard in a way that no one's ever heard them, because they all slapped them down and wouldn't let them vandalize the business, wouldn't let them have a temper tantrum in the middle of the parking lot. We all have these children inside of us. And if these children don't get validated and acknowledged in some way, then they just keep banging on the walls.
Right.
And if you've got the strength and the ability to hold that space and not take anything personally, and maybe offer a cup of tea or something and let them unfold their...
I don't want a fucking cup of tea.
Would you like to smell this?
But that's what comes at you, right?
Really good. You have to allow people to be human beings. And if you
also
do,
allow the silence.
Yes, exactly. Don't say anything.
I learned this because when I was trained on sales early on in my career, I was trained in the fact that you don't speak. When it's super awkward, super uncomfortable, your job is to shut your mouth, because that allows the other person you're dealing with to work through what's going on inside of them instead of convincing them into something that's not true for them. So that works this way as well. Like, you don't have to speak. You don't have to respond. You can just be like, okay. And then what? Okay. And then they'll do things to try to get you to respond.
Yep. They'll call you names.
You just don't. And
they'll threaten your job.
Their childhood temper tantrums is what happens.
Right.
As grown men and women.
Smart. You have to be smart. Don't let yourself get cornered in the bathroom by the office bully. Don't do it.
Oh, I see people do that stuff all the time.
People exist. Yeah. Realize people exist. Realize they're going through issues. Realize it's not personal, but don't be a patsy.
I like that. Don't get cornered by the office bully. We all know we have them, every single one of us. And so it's about not actually letting it bother you and just being like, yeah, I'm not going to get set up for that one again. Yeah, no, I'm going to hold a healthy boundary for myself again. And they're not going to like it when you do, because you've played the role for so long. They're not going to like it when you do.
Right. And expect that, yes, there will be consequences, but don't leave yourself vulnerable to it. If you're married to a narcissist and you're trying to get rid of them, make sure that your money is safe. Don't just hope they'll do the right thing, because they're not going to do the right thing. They're going to look for every opportunity they can to get back at you and vent their childhood 2-year-old tantrum, because their mother didn't listen to them. So don't set yourself up to lose everything because you're a nice person or because you don't know what to do. You really need, as you say, neutrality. And if you can stay neutral, it means that you make decisions based on reality, not based on emotion. And if you do that, you're going to be fine.
Right. Wow, that was a big statement there, my friend. I think we need to leave it at that, because don't set yourself up, because the narcissist will never do it the way you would do it, ever. Whether it's your boss, your ex, your current, your kids, it does not matter.
Exactly.
Right. Well, Rita, I love you. Everybody, don't forget, go to Rita's channel. Rita, what is your channel again? Tell everybody.
Oh, I don't even remember right now.
All right, we'll put the link below. Rita, send us over the link. We'll put it below.
And just type in Rita Hickman in YouTube and you'll totally find me.
Yep. And Awaken with Julie, Julie Murphy. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. And could you do us a favor and share this, because we are here to help people get to a life that they absolutely love. And we know you have other loved ones that are just as struggling as you are, because they're in our lives because we have the same patterning. So if you could share, we would really appreciate that. And we will see you all soon.